Hey everyone, it's Gina and welcome back to my channel and welcome to the Curly Hair Care for Beginners playlist where I take you all through how to care for your naturally curly hair and go from damaged hair to healthy curls. And I really try to break it down in easy, simple to follow steps, that way everyone can achieve healthy curls. So today's topic is going to be all about how to go longer in between washing your hair and how to prolong your style. So everybody's always asking how long they should go in between their wash days or how often they should wash your hair. And it's really important just to understand your hair and just know that everyone's hair is different. If you hear that one curly girl may go 7 days in between her wash days, then don't feel bad if you can only go 2 days because that's totally normal. Everyone's hair is different. Everybody has more amounts of oil. Everyone's lifestyle is different, whether if you sweat a lot, if you work out a lot. Everyone is so different and our hair is so different. So it's really important just to not stress out too much about trying to go a really long time. So I have fine curly hair and I also think it's high porosity and it's also low density, and so I have to watch out for my hair getting product buildup on it. With it being fine, it can get weighed down very easily, and I do start to get oily after about 3 days, so I can't go very long in between washing. It would be awesome if I could actually only wash my hair once a week, but if I want to have good hair days, then I just can't go that long in between. So I typically go 2 to 3 days, 4 days in between if I'm really pushing it. But I do have some tips and stuff on obviously how to prolong your wash days that I'm going to be sharing with you, but it's just important to know that it's okay if you can't go several days. I would say though that I would at least try to go every other day in between washing your hair. That's a great way to start off. If you wash your hair every single day, then you are just stripping out the natural oils from your hair. I do recommend trying to go every other if you can. There's also a theory that you can try and train your hair to go longer in between or to produce less oil. They say that if you are washing your hair and shampooing it too much, stripping out those natural oils, and if you're drying out your scalp, then it's just going to produce more oil, same as on our skin. To do that, you can start off with just every other day and then just gradually try and increase the amount of time that you're going in between your washes, and maybe you'll produce less oils. If you are deep conditioning your hair like you should be at least once a week, you're keeping it hydrated every week, and so it's going to stay more hydrated throughout the week. So I really recommend starting the week off, maybe on the weekend when you have more time, clarifying your hair and then doing a deep conditioning treatment. Now you don't want to clarify too much, so if you've already clarified recently, then just use a lathering shampoo to get rid of any product buildup, then deep condition, and then you can style. And when you're styling your hair, I highly recommend starting with, something moisturizing like a cream, or you could go straight to a gel, but finishing off with something like a gel or a mousse that's going to give your hair some cast. If you don't have any hold in your hair, it's just not going to hold up throughout the day and throughout the week. So I really like using a strong hold gels. I've also used some mousse products that I really like, but something that's going to seal in the moisture and give your hair that protective layer. If you have that crunchy cast feeling, that's going to help protect your hair from the elements, protect it from humidity, and just general wear and tear on your hair throughout the week, and just help your style last a lot longer. If you find that you just use a cream and then the next day your curls are gone, or you don't have as much definition, or it's frizzy and tangly, just using a cream or a leave-in conditioner alone is not going to give your hair enough hold, because creams are meant to define your curls and also provide moisture, but they're not meant to give your hair hold, so just keep that in mind. You can check out some of my styling routines, because I always do that method where I first moisturize with a cream or a leave-in and then I seal it with a gel, so you'll see some of my routines on my channel of how I like to do that method. But I did want to shout out some of my favorite gels and products that I like to use to help give my hair more hold. So the first one is the Ouidad Advanced Climate Control Heat and Humidity Stronger Hold Gel. I'm sure y'all have heard me talk about this several times before. I really like this gel because it's a watery texture and it's also built to protect your hair from humidity. And my hair is very sensitive to humidity, which is one factor that often contributes to your style not lasting, is if you get exposed to humidity in the air and stuff, or wind, and it starts to break down that cast, throughout the day, then it's not gonna look as good the next day. But this gel in particular, I notice holds up very well for me. It definitely gives me a really good cast, and I can layer it up to get like a very strong hold, or I can dilute it with some water or use less product if I want a softer hold. I also really like this over top any cream, so I've used several different curl creams with it. My favorite curl cream to pair under it is the Amika Curl Corpse cream that I've talked about before, but it does really well over top that. I've even used it on its own and it works great. It doesn't dry out my hair too much when I'm using it on its own. With this type of gel, I've noticed that you can kind of wet your hair throughout the day or even the next day and just touch up areas without having to apply more gel. And it kind of reactivates to where once it dries after you apply a little bit of water, you have that cast back. So even if you've lost the cast, like if you scrunched out too much, you can just add a little bit of water on the next day and it will kind of re-harden that cast. It's gonna help protect your hair. The next one that I have is the Dippity Doo Girls with Curls Jelly. This says it's a light hold, but I think you can get more of a medium to strong hold with this. This is another one where when I used it, I find that my next day hair looks really good because it's like that jelly texture. And again, I can layer this one up and get a stronger hold, or you can apply just a small amount if you don't want a strong hold. You can scrunch out the cast and it still have a great hold and definition. So that's another thing I look for with gels. I want something that I can scrunch out and get a softer look, so it doesn't look too hard, but it's still gonna hold up and give me that frizz-free protection all day. Another gel, I did do a review on this whole line on my channel, but this is from Curl Mix. This is the Pure Flaxseed Strengthened Organic Castor Oil Gel, and this is the step 4 in their system that they have. This was another gel that I noticed when I used it in the summer that it really gave me great results on next day hair, and I didn't have to do a whole lot to refresh my hair. Now normally flaxseed gels don't work the best for me. I do have high porosity hair, but I don't know if there's other stuff in this. Maybe it's the castor oil in it, which is a good sealing ingredient, but the other ingredients in this definitely help to protect my hair from humidity and help it hold up. As you can see, it's almost gone. I used this a ton last summer and I really enjoyed it. Last one I have is a mousse recommendation. This is the Not Your Mother's Curl Talk Curl Activating Mousse. This also has ingredients in it that help protect from humidity, so whenever I use this, I get really great next day results. I've been sharing this a lot on Instagram. I've been trying it out tons of different ways, with leave-ins paired under it, with creams paired under it. I even use this by itself and it works great, but I always have great next day hair when I use this as well. So by looking at the products, one thing they all have in common is they say that they give, a frizz-free finish. They say that they're strong hold or maximum hold, which is gonna tell me that it's gonna give me that cast, that protection on my hair to keep it from frizzing up. And if you don't like that crunchy, wet look, you can always scrunch it out. You guys have probably seen me do this in my routines where I kind of shake out my roots, I scrunch out the crunch, and I have that softer look, but I still have hold in place. My next tip is actually how you sleep with your hair. This is one of the major factors when going longer in between your wash days, is protecting your hair while you sleep. Now, naturally curly hair is very prone to tangles and breakage, and just in general, it gets really messed up easily. It can very easily be misshapen throughout the night, so my favorite way to sleep is with a satin bonnet. Now, you guys have seen me talk about this all the time because it's my #1 tip for protecting your hair at night. I personally really like a bonnet because I do have like short to medium hair, and since my hair is low density, I like getting that volume at the roots because when I flip my head over and put my bonnet up in this, I get really great volume. It's almost like when you plop your hair on top of your head. And so I wake up with really great volume. I also like how it kind of scrunches my hair up to my scalp, and so when I let it down, my curls are usually very shrunken up like this, and they fall once I shake it out and stuff, but it always looks so good the next day when I sleep with the bonnet. The satin or silk texture that these usually have will protect your hair. It's always very soft, it doesn't snag on anything. And I also prefer a bonnet over just sleeping on a satin pillowcase because it keeps it up off my neck. Sometimes even with just a satin pillowcase, my hair can get tangled underneath because it is fine, so it tangles up very easily. But if you have longer hair, they make larger ones of these. I did get this on Amazon. It is in my Amazon store. This was super affordable and it came in a pack of like 4 or 5, I think, so you can wash them, have a fresh one. But I like the black one, and I like this one in particular because the band is really nice. It's very comfortable. It's like an elastic right here. I don't like the ones that have that thick headband look around it. Those are just not as comfortable and they don't stay on as good. This one does not move on me and it's very comfortable to wear. If you do prefer just sleeping on a satin or silk pillowcase, I do have a couple I've tried out. There's some on my Amazon store. I've also tried the ones from myksilk.com. I also have the satin scrunchies from myksilk.com as well. I do have a discount code for there if you want to check it out. But they also sell silk pillowcases. I think they have bonnets as well, and the scrunchies. They have large and small versions. But if I am not going to be using a bonnet, I will just put my hair up in this because it doesn't dent my hair, it doesn't cause breakage. I'll put my hair up on the top of my head in what they call, a pineapple, where only the underside is touching the material and it's not going to cause as much frizz on the upper layer. I also like to put my hair up in these if I'm going to be sitting around on the couch, or I'll even put my bonnet on sometimes. If I'm just lounging around on the couch, you know, the underside of my hair is rubbing against the fabric and that's causing frizz and stuff, and that's going to break up the gel cast to where I don't have as much hold the next day. So that's one thing to keep in mind. I do have a video that I've done all about how to prevent tangles and breakage, and so I have lots of tips on there on how to help protect your hair from that happening. So if you struggle a lot with frizz and tangles when you're refreshing your hair, then I definitely recommend checking that video out if you have not already seen it. I will link it down below. My next tip is to try and skip refreshing altogether if you're not going to be going anywhere or if you're going to be staying home. And that kind of helps my hair get a break. I'm not adding on and layering on more product. I did talk about that in the video that I also mentioned where I take you through a full week of my curly hair. So I start with wash day and I walk you through each day of refreshing, or what I do with my hair each day. And in that video, some days I did skip refreshing and I would just throw my hair up in one of those scrunchies that I mentioned. On days that I really don't want to refresh and I'm on like that very last day, like I can't go any longer and I don't want to refresh, I will put my hair up in a high messy bun. So my last video that I posted was all about how to do my high messy bun. It's a really easy tutorial that you can do in less than a minute. So I do show you how to get like a nice looking bun if you do want to go out with your hair and you don't want to refresh and you really just need to extend it even longer. I definitely recommend checking out that style. Another tip is along the same line as, you know, avoiding buildup, and that is not using too much product when you do refresh. Sometimes I make this mistake a lot because, you know, when you're looking at your hair before you start refreshing, you might notice a lot of frizz and stuff and you might think you need more product. But like I said, just try and apply a little bit of water to your hair and maybe your gel or your product will reactivate a little bit and you might get some of that cast back without having to add in too much product. So you might not need product or you might need some product, but one thing I like to do is kind of just start with water, and then sometimes I will add my gel to my wet hands, and by diluting that gel a little bit, it's not going to be too much on my hair. I even do this with cream too. If I'm going to be using a curl cream and I'm just like wanting to touch up any dry frizzy ends with the cream, just diluting it with water kind of lessens the impact of potential buildup, and you won't get as much buildup and it won't get as weighed down because you're diluting it with water. Another thing you can do is only apply your product when you're refreshing to areas that need it. So instead of putting additional gel all over your hair, you can just re-wet the areas that are looking frizzy. So like if I have a frizzy curl in the front when I'm refreshing, I will just pick up that one curl, I'll add some water to my hands and smooth over it to smooth down the frizz. And then I will take some gel mixed with water, smooth back over it. Sometimes I'll even take the Denman brush and kind of redefine that curl. And then I will let it be and then diffuse or just let it air dry. Versus going in with like a spray bottle and spraying your whole head down. Sometimes that's not necessary. There's no need to wet your entire head unless you really need to refresh. So in that video that I mentioned, a week with curly hair, you'll see where some days I can do a very light touch up like that, and then other days I need to do a full refresh and completely wet down my hair, detangle. So you'll see those different routines in that video. My last and final tip is to try out using a dry shampoo if you do struggle with oil. So I personally have not found a good dry shampoo. Some of you have recommended some to me. I've never found one. I believe Intersense Organic has a foam dry shampoo that's meant for curls, so you could check that one out. I've never tried anything from Intersense, although I would love to because I've heard amazing things. But I know they have one, I think Living Proof also has a silicone-free dry shampoo, so that would be a good option to help absorb any oil in your hair. Just maybe by day 4, I start to get some oil, and that's usually when I just rewash my hair. So I know a lot of you are also gonna ask, you know, what do you do if you like to work out a lot? And I know that's tough. You might need to wash your hair more if you are sweating and stuff. Luckily, I don't sweat a whole lot around my hairline or on my scalp. So usually when I do work out at home, I will just put my hair up in my satin bonnet. Or I will put my hair up in a loose bun with my silk scrunchie. So that's a good way to kind of protect your hair while you're working out so it's not, you know, bouncing around too much and messing up your curls. So I did ask you guys on Instagram, what do you struggle most with when it comes to going longer in between your wash days? So I do have your responses here. You know, most of them seem to be all about frizz, which is definitely a struggle for me. Like I said though, just using a very strong hold product on wash day and not scrunching out as much of the crunch. You could scrunch out some if you don't want, you know, that hard cast on your hair for day 1. But one thing I like to do on wash day is sometimes I'll wash my hair later in the day, like on Sunday evening, and I will leave all of that crunch in my hair and then sleep on it. And then when I wake up the next day, some of it has fallen out, but some of it's still there. So that's kind of protecting your hair while you sleep if you leave that crunch in place. So some of you also said that your hair tends to get very limp or you lose your curl pattern. If that's happening, then it might be helpful to diffuse your hair. That's something that always shrinks my curls back up. So when you're refreshing your curls, you know, wetting it down enough to where when you go in and diffuse your hair, it will shrink back up. And again, if you are using too much product, then that could be why it's getting weighed down, or if you already have buildup on your hair. So I like to clarify usually when I do my wash day, and that also helps prevent my curls from falling loose throughout the week. So I know that's a tough one. Some of you also said that you tend to struggle with getting volume on next day hair. I've also shared in some of my refresh routines how sometimes I like to wet my scalp down. So I'll spray with a water bottle directly on my roots, and then I'll take my diffuser and use the teeth to give myself some lift at the roots. I think I talked about that also in the video that I did on how to prevent that flat triangle shape, of how you can make sure that when you're refreshing, you're using that diffuser to give yourself some volume up at the root. So that is it for all my tips on how to go longer in between your wash days. If any of these were helpful for you, definitely let me know which ones you liked the best in the comments down below. And if you have any tips that are going to help everyone else out, be sure to leave them down below. If you can go more than 2 or 3 days, then that's amazing. I would love to hear your tips in the comments. So that's it for today's video. I hope you found this helpful. If you want to check out the rest of the Curly Hair Care for Beginners playlist, I will have that link down below for you. Thank y'all so much for watching. If you have not yet subscribed, be sure to do so before you leave, and I hope to see you back next week. Bye, everyone.